Hey guys, how you doing? Actually, let me just minimize that and minimize this. Oh my goodness. There we go. I don't know why there were like four of those open. How you doing, Steve? The night before mTuner. You know those when you have like projects due and you're pulling all-nighters the night before? Well, we've been working on mTuner. We've been working on it for quite a while, but we're still doing some crazy last-minute stuff. So, the purpose of this video, just like I kind of did for Digital Lab Coat, was to kind of walk you through mTuner and give you a sense of it. Now, the fact of the matter is, Tim and the developers will probably continue working through the night because it's still not exactly where I want it, but it's close enough. It's close enough to do this video and give you a sense. But keep in mind there will be warts. There may even be warts when you do it tomorrow, but I'm hoping we'll have the warts well under control. Again, part of the purpose tomorrow, it's really two reasons we're doing this tomorrow. One is to give you a sense of how these assignments will work, what they look like, the kinds of questions I might ask you, and the other is literally to give the software a good workout and find what we need to improve before the first one of these that really counts for marks, which is the one we'll have in 2 weeks on chapters 1 through 4. So if things go wrong, my sincere apologies, and we will try to get everything right, but I think it will go right for the most part at least, and you'll have a really good sense of things. We will also, by the way, be posting a survey where you can give us your suggestions and your reactions should you want to. Maybe you have some ideas of how we could do this better. Always open. Some of the best ideas that we incorporate in the class have come from students. All right. So let me begin by saying I'm going to post this video now being tonight, Thursday night. Tim is going to continue working with the developers and me kind of keeping an eye from home. And eventually Tim will post the exact URL that you log into, and will tell you what your credentials are, what you use for a username and password to log in. So keep an eye out for that in a while, but for now, again, this will give you a sense so that you know what to expect when that happens. And again, the plan is that everything's a go for 8 a.m. tomorrow, that you'll have between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to log in. As long as you log in between those times, you have you can spend as much time as you want doing it. So there's no total time to do it, but we would like you to try to log in between those times. There is a timing aspect, and that's really what I want to highlight in this demo. I want you to have a sense of both how we're computing a score and when you have to worry about timing. And one little bit of annoying is the timers aren't exactly what I want them to be right now, but let's try it and give you a sense. So you won't have to, I don't think, choose anything. If you do have to choose anything from a list like this, it'll just be something that'll say mTuner activity 1, something like that. It'll be pretty obvious. In fact, if you have to choose, there'll only be one thing in a list. But I suspect you won't even have to choose. You will just go right into it when you log in. So I'm going to just, without further ado, click on this. All right, I'm going to log out. I'm going to log in. This is not... Sorry about that. Let's try again. All right. Cool. This is probably the kind of thing you'll see. Now, the examples I'm going to show you are going to be examples where all the questions come from lectures. But in reality, some of the questions will come from the textbook and some of them will come from lectures. And there will be a difference in, I'll explain to you exactly the difference in what will happen as we go through. But let me just show you these textbook questions to start with. So I'm just going to start the test, and I'll try to make clear the workflow, the things that will happen on every question. So the first thing you'll see is a question. Past 20 years has been a huge development of new technologies for studying the brain. Which is not one of those technologies. Okay, so this is one of the problems we have already. This is a very hard question to answer without seeing the alternatives, and I wasn't actually thinking of this when I told the TAs to write these questions. So there's going to be some of these where you just don't have enough information to even take a guess. So you can just type something like not enough info. Other ones, as you'll see, you can take a guess. The idea of this first part is just to get you thinking about what's going on. It's not really critical what you answer, but I would also encourage you to try to do the right answer. Now you see there's a countdown here, so you have a minute to type something in, and this will count down. And so once you do that, you type submit. Now you have a minute to choose the answer. And this, for every question, those are the two timing things. A minute to enter the first one, and then a minute to do your initial choice, and then the timing goes away. So I'm going to begin by trying to choose something that's correct right off the bat. Okay, so here's our 4 alternatives. Do you know which one's correct? Now again, this is tricky. Which is not one of those technologies. fMRI is, eye tracking is, electroencephalography is, intracranial stimulation is not. So I'll pick that. I'm correct. Notice that I got 2 points. This test says it's out of 38. That's just the pool that they're using. Your test will be 40 questions overall, so it'll be out of 80. So notice if you pick correct the first time, you get 2 points. So if you do that for all 40, you'll have 80 out of 80. Okay. Notice also that what happens when you pick the correct answer, the incorrect answers fade away, and another little piece of information comes up to try to let you know why this answer is the correct answer. So a little bit more. The idea is, again, so that you'll leave every question knowing what the correct answer was and knowing why it's correct. So that's what this is about. All right, so if you get it correct the first time, that's it. Everything's fine. To go on to the next question, you click on that answer again. Okay, so I'm going to click on that answer again. Now, let's see if we can do this one on the first one. Professor Jordan's compared this type of psychology to the aspect of professional sports teams. Ah, yes. The teams as a whole perform much better than single players who try individually to win the game themselves. What type of psychology can this compare to? So this was when I was talking about Gestalt psychology. So I'm not going to type Gestalt because actually if you nail it on this, if you type the right one, it will go right through like you're correct first time. Well, let me show you that. What the heck? Now, I don't know if this will match, but let's see. Gestalt. Okay, it didn't match because it actually said Gestalt psychology. If I'd said Gestalt psychology, it would have credited me for being right. Just as well, though. This is the right answer, but I'm not going to pick it. Remember, I have a minute. I'll come back to what happens if you don't get it within the minute. But let me show you what happens when I pick a wrong answer. So right now, I'm going to change a bit. What I really want to happen is if you pick the wrong, I want it to say you're wrong for about 2 seconds. And then, if it's a question from the lecture, as this one was, you'll go to a piece of the lecture that's related to the question. So let me show you. Let's say I picked social psychology. So right now it goes right to the lecture. Okay, that's fine, but I'd rather that incorrect stayed up for a second. Minor thing. This one is the very beginning of the lecture, which is kind of odd. It actually has me a little concerned, because it should have went right to the part of the lecture where I talked about Gestalt psychology.
All right. Wow. Monday morning, second week, and they're still over full. This is not judgmental in any way. I'm just curious, how many people here are actually Lecture 99 people? I'm not going to kick you out. I just want to get a sense of... Okay, so don't boo them.
All right, so this may be a hit. There's going to be, as I mentioned, some warts. And what this should do, and we'll try it again with another one, is it should go right to the point in the lecture that's related to the question. It seems to me that this link is not quite right. It shouldn't go right to the beginning of the class. So I'm going to have to ask about this one, and you may run into things like this as you do the test. So, you know, and I'll be happy if you're willing to write those things down when you see problems, so that I can clean this up. That would be great. It concerns me, and we're going to have to really check this all every time when it's for real marks. We're going to have to make sure it's cool. But the idea is, you would watch this bit of the lecture, and at some point I would have talked about Gestalt psychology, and that it's the whole is more than the sum of the parts, and I draw that analogy to sports teams that's alluded to. So the idea is you'd watch that, you'd find that part, and then you would know, oh, it's Gestalt psychology. So let me point out something, by the way. After you make that first choice, there's no timers anymore. So now you have as much time as you want. You can watch the lecture, carefully, slowly, no time pressure. You can take all the time you want here deciding which is the right one. And if you get it right now on your second choice, you'll notice the score is 2 out of 38. If I get it right now, I got 1 point for that. And again, it says correct. And it gives you, again, an idea of why that's correct. Okay, so you have that. Okay. Let me finally show you what happens if you don't get it correct twice. And this will give us another chance to do the video. So let's go to another one. Professor Jordan's talked about why theories like creationism and Freud's, that's weird, psychoanalytic theory are not well perceived by scientists. What did Professor Jordan's explain was the main critical reason for this? Okay, so the answer for this one would have something to do with falsifiability, the fact that those theories are not falsifiable. I don't want to get it right, which is a bad attitude. But anyway, I'm intentionally not going to get it right because I'm going. So I'll say don't know for now. Submit. Okay, here's the answers. Now the right answer is right there, lack of falsifiability. But let's say I get it wrong the first time. Now let's hope this works as it should. It's not going to. Oh, maybe it is. Okay.
Between those kind of two extremes, trying to balance it, and a lot of interesting things happens in that. So you can read a theory like that, and you can go, that feels right. That feels really good. No, I don't know if it feels good in that sense, but it seems like a reasonable explanation of a lot of things that happen in my mind, perhaps. But then the question to the scientist is, okay, well, how would you test that? What's the experiment you do to show that that's wrong? And by the way, this is something I want to really emphasize now, falsifiability.
Okay, so there I am going on about falsifiability. So again, the hope is you'd watch that, you'd get that sense, and then you'd go back and I assume pick this answer and get one. But let's say you didn't. Let's say you still got it wrong, you chose something else. Well, if you miss it on both attempts, it will still show you what the correct answer is, and it will tell you why. Okay, so really, I mean, that's the idea. You're just going to go through questions like this. I'm not going to go through too many because there's little issues, as you see, and I'd rather we get it right rather than have you guys, worried too much about these little issues, because it should run much smoother for you tomorrow. Although, again, I won't be surprised if you run into some things, and I apologize for that. We are trying to nail it down, and we will have it nailed down when it really matters, when it counts for marks. The only other thing I guess I should mention is when those timers, maybe this is intuitive, but if you do allow those timers to run out, what it does is just goes to the next step by itself. Not a huge deal when the box is there. So if you don't type any answer in the box, minute runs out, it just shows the alternatives. But when it shows the alternatives the first time, then you have a minute to make your first choice. If you do not make a choice within that minute, it will behave as though you chose wrong. I mean, it won't select anything as chosen, but it will go right to the video. Or, by the way, if the question comes from the textbook and not the lecture, it will show a paragraph from the textbook. So instead of showing you the lecture, you'll see the paragraph of the textbook. You can read through that and go back. But you will have lost your chance of getting 2 points. If you let that timer go out, you'll just see the lecture or you'll see the passage, and then you can come back and choose as your second choice and get a chance to get the 1 point. Okay. So again, a few warts there, but I hope that's enough to give you the idea.